The border battle breakdown. Dems make an offer Trump and Republicans have to refuse. Not only can't they agree on a barrier bucks, but also on ICE beds. The only thing I'm virtually certain of is that there will be no shutdown. That's what I think. But Senator Cassidy, you're in the middle of this. You just went through a 35-day shutdown that many people thought was avoidable. Are we heading there again?
I sure hope not. I don't think it works for either side. I don't think it works for our country. On the other hand, the president clearly has said he wants some money for a barrier, and he clearly wants to protect the American people from folks who, like he says, MS-13, those who have committed violent felonies in the country, who are already here, et cetera. And he wants those two things. I think it's pretty clear. I'm hoping Democrats will say, yeah, that's actually in the national interest.
But where did the whole ICE bed diminish? From 40,000 beds, we need more, to we'll cut it down to 30 or less, 30,000 less. What kind of message, what are they trying to get across?
It's either a poison pill or they want to limit internal ICE activity. But when you hear of people being released from county jails or parish prisons and going out and committing crimes, you wish you had more detention of that. And we're not talking about people who are domestic workers or people who are given a jaywalking ticket. We're talking about folks who've committed violent crimes. That's what ICE is focusing on. That's what I think the president wants more beds for.
So here's what Mick Mulvaney was saying yesterday as chief of staff. He's making it clear nothing is off the table. Cut four.
Is a shutdown entirely off the table? The answer is no.
But is it likely that if the president signs it, he's going to say, yes, but? No matter what, whatever he's short of, is he going to find the money somewhere else? Is that what we should expect?
I think that's fair. That's probably the most likely outcome. Again, you cannot take a shutdown off the table, and you cannot take 5.7 off the table. But if you end up someplace in the middle, then what you probably see is the president say, okay, and then I'll go find the money someplace else.
So you get a bad deal and you sign it just to avoid a shutdown? Is that what you're thinking, Senator?
You know, President Reagan used to say, give me 80% and I'll sign the deal. So if the president gets some incremental approach to where he's going, and then he's able to find other dollars elsewhere. One thing I proposed is that there is something called the Asset Forfeiture Fund. That money which drug cartels have attempted to move out of our country related to criminal activity here in the States. The United States gets about $5 billion a year from that. That is not subject to congressional appropriation. That is money which the executive already controls. They can use those dollars to build the wall or somehow enforce the southern border. I like that. It's not the American taxpayer, not the Mexican government. It's the Mexican cartels. And there's a certain poetic justice about that.
So what I think is interesting, how well briefed do you think the rest of the Democratic Party is with these negotiations? And how much was Nancy Pelosi consulting with the other Democrats in the House?
You know, I'm not quite sure, but you do see that she has moved from not a single dollar for a wall into she will agree to whatever the conference committee comes up with, and the conference is talking about money for barriers. So that tells me that she's gotten enough pushback from enough members of her conference, her Democratic conference, that the American people understand barriers work. You put in a barrier, you're going to have less illegal immigration. The more secure the barrier, the less drugs coming across the border.
So I thought what was interesting is that they start talking about these beds and how much they want to cut them back. Lindsey Graham says the president will never sign that. You indicate the president will never sign that. Tim Ryan, the Democratic congressman from Ohio, didn't even know about it. Listen to this, cut 9.
Speaking about something I've not heard about, and I, for one, and I think a lot of other people aren't for releasing violent offenders in any regard, and so I got to look more into that, but that doesn't sound like something that I would be supportive of, or many Democrats would be supportive of.
Senator, you're smiling.
Yeah, because Tim should read Fox News.
At least he was on when he was on with Maria when he said it. He had no idea.
Yeah, no, that's been reported, and clearly the president's not going to agree to that, because we do hear accounts still of people being released from parish or county jails and committing crimes. That should not happen. The American people don't want it to happen, and no matter what your political persuasion, we think criminals should not be loose on the streets.
All right, let's fast forward if we can over what is going on in Virginia. 3 high-ranking officials, all with some serious transgressions to deal with, none leaving the stage. The governor, his pictures as 25 years old in his medical yearbook. The attorney general, pictures of his at 19 years old in his college yearbook. And now you have a lieutenant governor with 2 sexual assault charges.
Well, clearly the lieutenant governor's charges are most serious. If it's a sexual assault charge and if it's credible, and by the way, the left established what credibility was when someone who could accuse Brett Kavanaugh, who had nobody to corroborate her, she could not remember key details, nonetheless was taken seriously, and how we have people who remember key details who actually have some kind of admission by the lieutenant governor that this may have occurred, although he otherwise disputes. The left is in a little bit of a bind. I'll also say, as regards the other two, this is identity politics coming home to roost. If whatever you've done, whenever you've done it, is now going to disqualify you, well, then clearly the left has got a problem on their hands, because they're going to find that really they've got a problem on their hands.
Here is the governor yesterday, cut 18.
Right now, Virginia needs someone that can heal. There's no better person to do that than a doctor. Virginia also needs someone who is strong, who has empathy, who has courage, and who has a moral compass. And that's why I'm not going anywhere.
Wow. As a doctor, you're a doctor. As a doctor, are you uniquely qualified to heal in Virginia?
Yes, but there's a certain irony when he was just defending what effectively amounts to infanticide. I wish he had more empathy for those children, not just unborn, but those who immediately after being born are still alive. There's an incredible lack of empathy there, an incredible lack of a physician's ethic of first do no harm. So it seems as if there's a selective application, which kind of calls into question whether or not he really applies.
Well, I just a couple of things too is, I really resent the fact that now he's going to help me heal. What do I need? So
really.
It's not my problem. It's you're the problem. He's probably the least qualified to do this, and his best asset is the fact that the other two are have their own problems, and the fourth person in charge would be a Republican, and evidently in Virginia that would be the worst thing to ever happen.
Yeah. So, and there's also a little bit of kind of coming home to roost. He certainly didn't disavow the campaign run against his opponent, in which there was a truck with a Confederate bumper sticker running down those who looked different.
Ed Gillespie.
And
that was a super PAC that was run on Ed Gillespie's behalf.
But you certainly didn't, against Ed Gillespie.
Against Ed Gillespie.
Yeah, but he certainly didn't disavow it, and he certainly benefited from it. So there is just kind of like, where was the healing there? Whereas, no, that's a cheap shot. No, that shouldn't be done. So I think the credibility of the governor is deeply in question.
All right, I want you to hear what Don Beyer said. Or if actually, do you want to hear? Can we hear his comments? Okay. Here are the comments that you're referring to about what I think is fourth-term abortion.
Third trimester abortions. These are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
So you're a doctor. Have you ever heard that?
So he, in the context of what he was discussing, yes, he was given a particular example of a child who would not live very long, but the law which he was discussing did not limit it to that. It could be any child who was about to be born, but maybe, sure, we're 40 weeks in, but no, we want to do things differently. That is wrong. And the governor was trying to gloss over the ugly part of the law that had been proposed in Virginia, the incredibly ugly part, that which denies a newborn human status. Now, the left has been all about denying those in the womb human status. Now they wish to extend it into those who have been born, and that is wrong.
What did the Supreme Court do to Louisiana's petition?
Yeah, the Supreme Court rejected it. Louisiana had a law saying that if you are an abortionist, then you should have privileges at a local hospital. Why does that matter? If there's a complication, then you want to be able to have the mother go to the hospital, be quickly admitted without any sort of hiccup, and have her needs addressed. If you don't have privileges, that is less likely to happen, or at least more cumbersome. Louisiana put that requirement. The Supreme Court did not agree, so I'll have to see what the next steps are.
Chief Justice Roberts was the one who swayed the vote that way, appointed by George Bush. Senator, a couple of things going on. I think that you have a Democratic party that is doing some strange things. The strangest thing I think is this new Green Deal.
It is.
And it is basically, it is so radical. I don't even know anyone who would even support this in reality. People say, well, it's good to dream big. Is it a big dream not to have air travel? Is it a big dream to get rid of all oil and gas, nuclear energy, including natural gas, which burns clean? I mean, is it a dream to give everybody a pay, including people who choose not to work? What kind of dream is this?
It is a nightmare, because ultimately it means that individuals and businesses will pay more for their electricity, which means that Americans will be poor. It means that we will be shifting jobs to lower cost energy places like China. So Americans are losing jobs. And by the way, when a business moves to China, they get their energy from dirty, they don't turn on their scrubbers. When they burn energy, they just emit all kinds of pollution. So global greenhouse gas emissions are going to be higher. It is a nightmare. You pay more for your electricity, you lose your job, and the global environment is worse.
So overall, the big picture, Jonah Goldberg weighed in. He's not the biggest Trump fan, but he's just calling it like he sees it. Cut 31.
If you just look at the math of the Electoral College and its approval rating, there's almost literally no way Donald Trump can affirmatively win in 2020. But the Democrats can certainly lose. And if you look at the way these fights are shaping up, if you look at the way the Democrats this last week walked into Donald Trump's thing at the State of the Union about how we're never going to be a socialist country by unveiling in not great fashion the Green New Deal, it does seem like the Democrats are in danger of spiraling off to exactly the place where the White House wants them to be.
I don't look at the president's chances have diminished. I just think he was typical president in the third year. He's going to gear up and do some things. But how do you feel about what he's running against, knowing roughly the 8 people that are lined up?
Yeah, so I think so far Democrats have a war on the middle class. They want to raise their cost of energy. They want to take away their employer-sponsored insurance, which most are happy to. They want to put 150 million people into Medicare for All, a program going bankrupt in 8 years, which means Medicare for All is Medicare for none. And if you're on Medicare now, kiss it goodbye. They've got a war on middle America. I think Republicans can run on a positive agenda. The president, for example, has helped lower drug costs by eliminating gag clauses and getting more generics on the market, lowering the cost of health insurance, which we've done by putting through association health plans, which have lowered premiums by as much as 50%. We're there to save Medicare, not gut it for a political purpose. I think the president's got a great chance. They got war on the middle class. We're trying to take care of folks.
Well, thanks so much. Senator, it's great to see you in person. We'd love to have you in. I know you got to go. Senator Bill Cassidy here, a medical doctor with a rich background in the middle of a fray, working hard to make sure we don't have a shutdown because it doesn't work for anyone. Senator, thanks so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Back in a moment.